What's up guys, Mickle here, and it looks like XRP is finally woken up and preparing to make a massive move to the upside. In this video, I want to talk about that and all the critics who have been so critical of XRP in the past suddenly out of nowhere coming out and supporting XRP and Ripple in their efforts against the SEC. In this video, we're going to talk about that as well as why XRP is breaking out now. Is it because we are around the corner from an end in the Ripple SEC case? I want to go over whether or not I think that's why XRP is breaking out, because for a while we have been targeting March as the end of the Ripple SEC case. At the end of this video, I want to talk about whether or not March is still a realistic month for this case to end. We actually learned something today that could throw some cold water on James K. Filan's theory that Judge Torres will make a decision this month. Make sure to stick around to the end of the video to see that. You are not going to want to miss it. Also guys, I'm really trying to get to 50k subscribers, so make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It's really going to help me out so much. Also, if you want a good place to buy some XRP or the Flare token, make sure to check out my favorite exchange Uphold down in the description of this video. With that said though, let's jump right into it, and I hope you guys enjoy the content. So I want to start out this video and go over something very interesting, because it seems like now that it is looking more and more obvious that Ripple is going to beat the SEC in court, we suddenly see all these people coming out who have been critical of Ripple and XRP in the past, suddenly coming out and saying, oh, it looks like Ripple's going to beat the SEC, and suddenly saying that XRP has massive utility. The first very notable person I saw come out today was Cathie Wood of ARK. I was actually on a Twitter space listening to her, and on that Twitter space, she made it clear that she thought Ripple was going to beat the SEC in court. Now, I have never heard Cathie Wood ever talk about Ripple before in the past, but I have talked to various analysts at ARK who are the head of their cryptocurrency team, and every single one of them essentially told me XRP has no utility and it's not going to be very useful to Ripple's products going forward. So obviously, this has always been kind of shocking to me. I've always looked up to ARK Invest and Cathie Woods. I always thought they had a very innovative way of looking at the markets, and I could never wrap my head around how these people couldn't understand Ripple and XRP. I mean, they were talking about things like Ethereum and Solana as some transformational technology to our financial system, and to me, it just seems so obvious that there was so much more there with XRP. What I find so interesting though is not that these ARK analysts were skeptical of Ripple and XRP in the past, but the fact that suddenly out of nowhere they seem to be flipping on their previous statements. Ultimately, this is a very good sign, because it shows that a lot of these people, these ultra skeptics, these people that thought Ripple was never going to beat the SEC, are finally realizing Ripple is winning by a landslide. Now, this is very good news, because I think it just says a lot about the weakness of the SEC's case. I mean, a lot of these people would probably love for Ripple to lose this case to the SEC, and not even they think it's a possibility. Now, the other thing I want to point out that is very bullish is ARK obviously has a lot of money and is going to be investing a lot of money in these cryptocurrencies going forward. What we could see is a potential scenario where XRP is one of the few cryptocurrencies that gets clarity in the market, therefore forcing institutional investors like ARK Invest to funnel a lot of their crypto portfolio into a coin like XRP. At the end of the day, XRP is a blue chip cryptocurrency, and a lot of these cryptocurrency funds are just going to want to invest in the blue chip cryptocurrencies they see as having the least amount of risk. If XRP is the only cryptocurrency in the United States market that's fully compliant by the SEC standards, and essentially because Ripple smoked them in court, well, that's going to be an easy decision for institutions like ARK to choose to invest into XRP, because it's going to have the least amount of risk out of any other blue chip cryptocurrency out there. Ultimately, it's just another example where us retail investors were able to front run the institutions. When this case was first dropped against Ripple, institutional investors were forced to sell out of their XRP, because ultimately they're held to much stricter compliance standards than individuals. Because of that, people like me and you were able to keep accumulating XRP and hold on to the XRP we already had, while institutions were forced to dump their bags. This is creating the ultimate scenario where people like you and me, who were always confident Ripple was going to be on the right side of the law, were essentially able to front run all the institutions in the market. Ultimately, I think this is going to create a very interesting dynamic where essentially the institutions are going to be pumping our bags. This is one of the only times this could ever happen, because when you think of traditional markets, typically all the institutions get into an investment in the VC rounds and then they count on the public to pump their bags. This is one of the reasons why XRP is such a unique investment out there, and we know institutions are in XRP because we have seen countless different interviews from custodians saying, hey, the institutional demand in XRP far exceeds any other cryptocurrency out there. Ultimately, I really do think this is creating a massively bullish dynamic, and I think we're right around the corner to seeing institutions flood back into XRP. And I want to show you one other big player who is flip-flopping on XRP, and that is CoinDesk. Now, this is someone I never expected to flip on XRP because this is the definition of Bitcoin maxis right here, and they have been trashing XRP and refusing to talk about this case since day one. But listen to this interview by this guy right here, Buy a Little, because what he did right here blew my mind. I never thought they would let anyone talk like this on CoinDesk, but he gives the bullish case for XRP right here, and I think you guys are going to like it a lot, so listen up to this.
And you also actually seen a pop with XRP, right, which is another interesting component of this whole conversation, because when you look at efficiency and moving capital around the globe with our banking system, that's a very, very important aspect of the settlement side of things. And what's happening there is a lot of interesting insights as far as contracts, partnerships that have already laid the groundwork, that's playing nicely with regulators. And I think that's the other side of this conversation that we haven't had yet.
Yeah, I was actually just going to ask you about XRP, which just surged to a 5-month high, even amidst all this turmoil. But isn't that possibly just about the potential coming resolution to the SEC XRP case, which has been brewing for a while? And I mean, that's how I read that surge.
Yeah, I think that's one piece of it, but for whatever reason, I like to unpack a little more of the conversation. And here's the other part. Rather they win or they lose, it doesn't matter, to be honest with you. They still have those long-term institutional partnerships in which they will still be able to move value across the internet. And in my personal opinion about this, and the way I think about this, is if they are made an example of, it's still not a bad thing. Right, the world is stage. Let's kind of quote Shakespeare thinking about that. It's all right. Rather they win or rather they lose, they're still going to be able to play a pivotal role representing Bank of America and several other large institutions in moving capital around the world, providing liquidity to both those small and regional financial institutions. I think that's what we're seeing on the back end.
So obviously there's the initial shock that CoinDesk even let this guy on to talk about XRP, but I think he also makes a pretty good point where a lot of people are acting like if Ripple loses this case, it's all done, XRP is going to zero, Ripple can't exist, they're going to go out of business, and he makes a very good point. People lose cases to the SEC all the time and their business goes on to thrive. Think of how many times big banks like JP Morgan have been sued by the SEC. It's happened time and time again. I think this guy makes a very good point in saying we could see Ripple actually lose this case and it could make absolutely no difference for XRP. Now, I fully think Ripple's going to win this case, but Ashley Prosper really drives this point home. So the SEC won't say Ethereum is not a security. The CFTC says Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin are commodities. The New York Attorney General says Ethereum is a security. FinCEN says XRP is a currency. The SEC says XRP is a security. And the DOJ says XRP is a currency. This is fair notice gold for Ripple. And Ashley Prosper is making a great point here. Even if Ripple loses his case, at the end of the day, Ripple's not going to get hurt that badly because they never had fair notice. Even if you are convinced that Ripple was selling securities at one point in their history, well, no one ever told them that was the case, and almost every single regulator out there was saying something different. I think we have moved to a point in this case where there is no chance XRP on the secondary market will be declared a security, and I also don't think there's any chance that even if Ripple was told at one point they were selling illegal securities, I don't think it could be anything more than a mild slap on the wrist, because we have learned that there was absolutely nothing done by the SEC to actually tell Ripple they were violating the law, and that is giving Ripple fair notice gold to escape escape this lawsuit with nothing more than a mild slap on the wrist. So I want to finish this video off and quickly talk about James K. Filan's prediction that this case will end in March, because essentially his logic was riding on the fact that if Judge Torres did not get her decision in by the end of March, essentially she was going to be on some late list. Now, I was on a live stream earlier today with John Deaton, and he said he was actually digging into that and didn't think it was necessarily true, and it was a little ambiguous when that 6 months would have started. I just wanted to point that out because it might make James K. Filan's prediction that this case would end in March a little off. Now, with that said, the XRP price chart is telling us we are likely very close to a conclusion. And even John Deaton, who is not basing his prediction on Judge Torres having to make this decision by the end of March, also thinks we are max a month out from Judge Torres' decision. Now, with that said, Jeremy Hogan, who also wasn't making his prediction based on this late form Judge Torres might have gotten on, his prediction was that this case would have ended 2 weeks ago. So I still think we are in a sweet spot for this case to end. I think it could be any day now. I just want to point out that the logic James K. Filan was using to say, hey, this case is most likely ending in March, might have been a little flawed, and we might get the end of this case in early April. A lot of the commentary these lawyers put out there really is nuanced, and every single district has different rules. I think we're very close either way. I just wanted to make that clear because it was some information I heard earlier today. Anyway, thank you so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed this update. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe. It really does mean so much. And for now, Mickle out.